YouTube friends and family, to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. And it's chilly out here, y'all. It's 54 degrees. It is Monday, June 10th when I'm filming this. And I'm actually filming two videos at the same time, so you're just gonna have to excuse it. So I actually am back from my trip to visit with my son. We got his pool opened, and I think by the time you see this, you will already have seen that, but it depends on the order, right? So I was just gone, you know, a weekend, but still, I focus on my garden on the daily, and I do get a lot of questions from folks like, how do you maintain your garden, especially with your bad back? So first of all, let me just tell you, slow and steady wins the race, and weeds happen. I think those are probably the two things that I've had to accept, because if I spend an entire day out here bending over, straightening up, bending over, straightening up, I won't be able to do that tomorrow. So even though this video is about the 5 weekly things I like to do with my garden, please understand that they're not always all done on the same day. So I'm going to show you some of each of them. So the girlies are out running. It's a little earlier. It's only 6:30. I'm so nervous still about the fox. And there goes a hawk. I don't know. I think my big girls are too big for it to pick up, but I don't know that for sure. You girlies okay? And they're going to head straight for the wood chip pile. So first thing that I like to do, and guys, sometimes I have to do this every day. So today, as I said, is Monday. We're having an unseasonably cold day. So it's going to be 66 for the high and in the 40s, upper 40s tonight for a low. I'm going to water really well, but then starting this coming Sunday, so first of next week, I would call it, we're going to have a string of mid-90s. And it's way too early for that, y'all. That's like July, August weather for us. But stuff happens. So watering is something that I can't do weekly here. Sometimes I have to do it daily, depending on the rain pattern. So I'm going to get busy. I'm going to start watering. So what do I use? I use a garden hose. And I personally, let me share this with you. Gotta groan when you bend over, y'all, because it just makes it better. I like the Miracle Grow sprayers. Now, Miracle Grow is, I'm laughing at the chickens, certainly not organic. However, if you're careful, let's see if I can show you this. Yes, you can pull off this little thingamabobber, and you can put other feed in there and then just screw it in. Do I ever use Miracle Grow? I do. And I'm not going to fib and say, I only use organic, because when you have plants that are really struggling, sometimes for me, the organic feed does not do well. So I've got some peppers that are looking really sad. I am going to try a different concentrated organic bloom feed, which I will show you shortly. But anyway, first, let's just get to watering, right? And I don't think, I didn't turn the water on. Can't water much without the water. So let me go do that. I'll bring you back for point number 2. Houston, we have water. So one of the things I will tell you about watering, I thought it was going to cost me $1 million because I am on city water. It costs me $5 to $7 a month, even in a dry month where I'm pretty much watering daily, to water. It will not do your garden much good if you surface water, if you just kind of sprinkle it and let it go. So, checking for the chickens. Watering is something that takes sometimes as much as 30 minutes for me to do the whole garden. And that's okay. I put a lot of time, energy, effort, and a little money into my garden every year. It feeds me so well. I love to see it growing. that I am willing to set and take the time to spend the $5 to, I think the max I've ever had is $10, and that was like when we didn't get rain for a month. The girlies are super happy. I was able to leave them without a chicken sitter just by putting extra food and water. They were very, very glad to see me. Even the babies, I think, were glad. So I took care of their feed and water last night, and this morning they've been balking since about 6 o'clock, wanting to get out to play. So just make sure that when you water deeply. Now, is it super duper dry right now? No, it's not. But it's dry enough that I can see a little bit of wilting on some of my tomatoes, and I want to make sure that they have adequate nutrition as well as adequate water. So let me get this watering done. I'll be back with you shortly. All right, y'all, excuse my frizzy hair. It's humid this morning, and it just gets bigger as the day goes on. So we have taken the time to really water and everything very well. It gives me an opportunity to take stock of, okay, what's doing well, what isn't doing so well. I never have trouble growing peppers. My peppers stink this year, just saying. I'm hoping that they will pull out of it. I mean, we are in early June. We have July, August, and September that they'll still produce, and sometimes on in October as well. I haven't checked our first frost date. We haven't even gotten to real summer yet. So the next thing I like to do is do some weeding. So if you keep up with the weeds, your plants won't be competing for nutrients. So why am I weeding before I'm feeding? I don't want to feed any weeds I might miss, or if I pull it and I don't get the whole root, I like to use the claw. That works really well. Do I try to get every single weed that's in my garden? No, I do not. Especially not in one day. So generally what I will do is maybe I'll do a third, kind of like that. Sometimes I can get it all done in a day, depends on how bad. What I can tell you is every time I'm out here watering, even if it isn't a day to weed, if I see something, I pull it. So let me kind of just show you. This thing works great. I've already had to chase the girls once, and I'm sure the neighbors are laughing. So right here, oh, let me see if I can adjust y'all. Can you see in between the 2 rows of tomatoes, we have got a ton of weeds. And it's mostly grass. And so what I like to do is just, sorry with my back to you, I just like to rake it up, and that kind of exposes the roots. You want to try to get as much of the root as you can. And just pull as much as I can. Certainly anything that's really close to the plant, I'll take a look. When we get to number 3, which is kind of trimming back some things, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, because I can really tell that my tomatoes, as you see here, they need some of their bottom leaves trimmed off, because we don't want them putting effort into growing something that isn't going to produce anything. So when you have grass, y'all, you get roots like this. So let me get at least a third of my beds done. I'll show you here what's going on with the ladies. And y'all excuse my grass. Girly girls, what's doing? You chickening around? Yes? It's very good, isn't it? Sorry, guys. So, let me sit here a minute. And the chair is wet. Takes a minute for that to register when it soaks through your britches, but that's all right. I have been trying to let the girls free range when I can be out here for a couple of hours to really watch them. No one has seen the fox. Does that mean the fox is gone? No. He may have found, there's a lot of people in this town with chickens. We have, I think it's called like Next Door Neighbor or something like that I'm signed up for. And you can post, you know, if you're a member, you can post. And so, of course, I posted an alert about the fox. And then I know Steve's been having some problems with coyote, Mr. Steve. So I posted, I don't know if I posted that. I might have left that for him to post, you know, not to be like all up in his business. But I just want people to know. So I'm hoping the fox babies grew up enough, if that was even a mama fox. I never got a good enough look to even tell. And she or he has moved on, but I don't know that. So I'm just not comfortable leaving them to free range. The babies are getting big enough, really close to letting them out into the nighttime coop, the smaller coop, not the run, and seeing what they do. But guys, they are so hyper. It is a challenge for me to catch them, even in that little coop. I don't want to hurt them, and they just fly and fly and fly. They are going to need some wing trimming, but they're young, but they're getting taller. So I thought about putting, I'm sorry guys, you know, sometimes I run through like all the chickens' names and some of the cat names before I get to my son's name. I only did it once this weekend, which is not too bad for me, really. Jolene. She's pretty, well, like I was chasing them out of the wood pile, and she's like, I'm too tired to run. I sit down, you pick me up. She's pretty mellow still. And I think she's still recovering, but you would not, she's laying every day. You would not know it. She's out eating worms with their sisters. She plays, she's very active, but she seems to get tired quicker. Like when I put him back in the run, she'll want to sit down for a while. There you go with the set and the sit thing. All right, guys, I'm gonna do a little bit more weeding. If you see, let me turn you around here. So I kind of have a stripe here, and then over here, these are, right here, are a short sunflower. In the middle is, oh no, it's another flower. Should take it. My mind is not always good. Back here are pumpkins, so I'm going to try to do this row. I'll bring you back, and then I'm going to talk about point number 3, trim off the dead wood. All right, guys, stay tuned. Oops, got to take the glove off. I'll laugh and wash my hair grow when you have curly hair. So, one of the things, as I sat down, that I've been searching for is something to really help my back. So it's not exactly the bending over that causes me the problem. It's raising back up. Everybody's a little bit different. So that's why I say if I have to bend over, I'm going to see what else I can do while I'm down there, because raising up and down and up and down is what really can wreak havoc on my back and put me down for a couple days. So I hope you'll be laughing with me. So I found this really cool little thing. This is made by Rubbermaid. It's on wheels. It's a little scooty bench. It is about, oh, maybe 14 inches tall, so a little taller than a foot. And you can pull it apart, oops, and it's a kneeling bench. Now, it has a little bit of storage in there as well. So let me tell y'all, Danette and I laughed and laughed and laughed because you may notice my handle's broken to pieces inside there. Every time I would sit down on it would crack a little further. I'm like, is there a weight limit on this thing? Because y'all, in all honesty, I weigh about 150 pounds, so I weigh a lot. Like, I'm not a light girl. Y'all can tell that by watching my videos. But I'm like, that's not like a man couldn't sit on this, right? So I don't know why the handle broke. It's light enough to carry around that I don't feel like I need the handle. I did save it. I may try to, you know, super glue and duct tape fixes everything. May try a little bit of that. But I also wanted to share, the Needy Homesteader did a video on like a little, it's a lot higher. It's like about this high, like a garden cart with a pivoting stool, and it got me to thinking, that's not appropriate for me because my beds are too low and it would not stop the bending, raising, bending, raising. But this thing, y'all, okay, that was a piece of wood that cracked, not the whatchamajigger, not the actual stool. It has really helped me not have to bend, straighten, bend, straighten, bend, straighten. So I've done 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th bed because the beds are not that bad, y'all. And that's the benefit. This is probably the worst one. That's the benefit of trying to pay attention to your garden on the weekly. You know, if it's, I don't know what I will do the week that it's 90 some degrees except to come out really early. I don't deal well with, you know, super high heat. And the garden is in full sun in the afternoon. Now, of course, we're early morning here. The girlies are picking and eating their own raspberries. Advantage. So, this might be an option for you too if you're like, gosh, I'd really like to have a couple raised beds, but I don't know if my back will take it. Well, this has been a godsend for me. Oh, I probably just got dirt all, yeah, I did, all on my face. You can take the girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl, right? So, I could not think of the word zinnias. So this bed over here has some beautiful zinnias that I think will match the sunflowers. Zinnias for me usually get 3 or 4 feet tall. My flowers they're coming along. They're just not as far along as I thought they might be. So what I'm thinking is, you know, note to self for next year. And that's something else you should be doing. Gather information as you are taking care of your garden. I really need to make some notes about what did well, what didn't do well. Because you do think you'll remember, and trust me guys, you won't. Because I thought I didn't plant as early as I did last year. As a matter of fact, I planted my seeds indoors hydroponically earlier. Now it's been a huge benefit for, I've lost my digger, huge benefit for tomatoes and some of my flowers. Let me show you here. Come on, Granny. I'll pull you back here. I gotta go find my digger too. So, tip you down. These are hollyhocks, and they have not bloomed yet, but we're gonna take off some of the lower leaves. My lavender I purchased, and it's doing well. I'll be able to harvest some shortly. Snapdragons are along this side, and they've just started to bloom. So what is in here are some green zinnias that are just stunning on the package, and they've come up really well, but they've come up with all the grass. So, oh, I see my digger. So I'm going to keep going, and then when I bring you back, we're going to talk about something I get a lot of questions about. Why do you have all those leaves in your garden, and what do you use for mulch, and why? All right, y'all, that brings us to the 4th things we've talked about. I think it's 4th. Water, weeding, fertilizing, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And now I want to talk a little bit about mulch. So, you may have noticed in my beds, I have a lot of leaf mulch. So you can see, I have been told by many gardeners, you shouldn't be doing that. Y'all, it works for me. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know, almost without fail, I have a really nice garden. Now, does it require a lot of work? Yes. What I can tell you about the mulch, it does 2 things. It does provide a really good weed barrier for me. And again, you have to know that where you're getting your leaf mulch or dirt. I had my beds topped off really early spring, so a lot of this has already composted into soil, and by winter it will. So each year I can add more. You want to make sure you're not getting something heavily chemically treated that hasn't been exposed to a vegetation killer or weed killer if you don't want that, especially vegetation killer, because some vegetation killers will prohibit growth of anything for 7 years. You don't want that in your garden, right? But it just really worked well for me. It also helps hold in moisture, did I say that? And keeps the weeds down. So those are the 2 reasons that I do it. The other reason is it really enriches my bed. Now, what about chicken manure? Because y'all got more chicken manure than I got common sense most days. I have a good pile of manure that's totally composted, that is safe to use. It's nothing fresh. It's not going to burn anything. So I may add that if I do some succession planting to certain areas of the garden. Scrape back the leaves, top it off with a little bit of dirt, i.e. chicken manure dirt, and then in the fall I can put a pretty hefty coating on all of the beds to help prepare them for next year, and then mulch over it. So these are just some tips that work for me. I live in AA is my gardening zone, so it's not the same for everyone. A lot of you have way further along gardens than what I do, but I've got some pretty impressive corn. Let me tell you what, the corn is over my waist, and here in Ohio, it's growing a little bit faster than knee-high by the 4th of July. I'm gonna have to go look for those little stinky girlies. They actually put themselves back in the coop a little bit ago. I think they were checking on their sisters. They're kind of interested in those babies, so I'm anxious to see how it will go. And of course, I'll bring you along for it. So, before I do my actual feeding and share with you what I'm going to use to feed and why I'm feeding some additional nutrients to my garden, let's talk about deadheading, or getting rid of material that isn't going to mature into a flower, into a plant, that your plants may be using a lot of energy and nutrition trying to make that deadheaded, or that dead area grow, that just simply needs to be deadheaded. So I'm going to show you a few areas of my concern in just a moment, so stay tuned. All right, y'all, I'm hoping you can see this. Every time I sit on this thing and it cracks, I have to laugh. It's actually just the handle moving. So you may notice here on my tomato, look, cut a piece off. I have this. This is not going to, I apologize for the noise, y'all. Y'all, they're doing construction on this road. Dealing with a lot of truck traffic and noise. So trimming off anything that looks unhealthy, diseased is of course important. Oh, how did I do that? Well, I jammed my scissors here. Okay, wait up. But as your tomatoes get larger, you need to take off some of this bottom because it cannot get sun. It's not getting adequate, I'm twisting and I shouldn't be, aeration, and it's not going to produce anything. So your tomatoes will do much better, as will any plant just about, by taking off the unhealthy portions so that the plant isn't putting any effort into it. So I've got a lot of this. Probably should have been done last week. Just saying. But better late than never, right? I also have some leaves. Let me cut one and show you. Did I cut them off already? No. My cabbage and broccoli. Let me cut a couple of them because there's not a lot. That I can tell you with great certainty are not essential to the plant, and simply just, I need to divest myself of it. So I'm going to go through, trim off some dead wood of my tomatoes, and then I will bring you back. We'll talk about the 5th and final thing, which is different types of fertilizer. Pardon me, guys, hiccups. What I like to use and why. So the 5th and final point is fertilize when needed with the appropriate fertilizer. So last year, y'all, I bought some pumpkin juice, and I found this completely helpful in the growth of my pumpkins. As you all know, I had a ton, and I'm really excited to show you something before we end this video. So you squeeze it up to the 1 ounce mark per gallon of water. And then I do have pumpkins here, and then I have baby boos over here. So I'll be doing that. Fox Farm has an entire litany of really good plant foods. So this is 644, 6 being the nitrogen, and you notice it has a tomato. Tomatoes are nitrogen lovers, so this is one thing that I like to use on my tomatoes. Y'all, I am shocked. I have tomatoes that are like this big on several different plants, and I even have my little cherry tomatoes are also growing. And again, if you remember, those were all started from seed, and I might have 21 tomato plants. My cucumbers have started to bloom. I'm super excited about that. Not so excited about my beet, kohlrabi, and parsnip yield. But you know what, guys? I haven't grown any of those 3 things for years. So I may have not had the right soil nutrition. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research, but we'll eat what we get, and then I will have an 8-foot bed absolutely empty that I can do some succession planting in. I'm thinking about maybe some carrots and some green beans, because those are my 2, well, broccoli. But I have broccoli that's this big already, guys, and cabbage that's about this big. So things are really coming along well. I didn't show you that. We'll do another late June garden tour, but not quite ready to show you. I'm a little disappointed in my flowers. But again, guys, it's early in the season. It's not even technically the first day of summer till June. I think it's June 21st. So yeah, I probably should stop pouting. So I got all of the dead areas on my plants trimmed off, put into the compost bin. I got everything weeded because I had weeded some through the week last week, and this is Monday, so it really wasn't too bad. So I'm very pleased about that. Getting very close to harvesting my turnips, so we'll have a recipe there. When I was up at my son's, he has maybe more cookbooks than me, but at any rate, he had a new cookbook, and it's called 6 Seasons, S-I-X Seasons, and it is amazing because it talks about like early season turnips, fall turnips, you know, and the different things you can make. And I found a recipe that I want to make, so that will be here tomorrow. Might have ordered it, just saying. All right, guys, let me go show you something really neat that I found in my yard, and I've done absolutely nothing to it to get it to grow, to get it to bloom, to get it to anything. So I hope you'll stay tuned. Y'all may remember that I planted about a 1-foot high raspberry last year, and yes, it is about 5 foot tall, probably 5 foot across. I mean, it's huge, and it is bearing raspberries, but the chickens like to pick their own and eat them. Now, y'all, this is composted manure and some fresh that I will stir in. But do y'all recognize what this is? See that big orange bloom? So last year, my decorative pumpkins that I purchased, I just set along in a row along the fence and let the chickens have at. So some of these have self-seeded. I've got lots of blooms, and I don't know which pumpkin it is. It's very happy with the manure. So I'm gonna have some free pumpkins. I haven't watered, I haven't fed, I haven't anything. So it's very happy here. I'm just gonna leave it. I hope you all have enjoyed my 5 top tips. Sorry about the talking radio in the background. It's a fox deterrent. So water, fertilize, mulch, weed, and cut out dead areas and harvest regularly. Those are my 5 top tips that I like to do every week. Makes my gardening easier if I keep up with it rather than to leave it till, I don't know, it was as bad as it was a couple weeks ago. So I will see you all a little bit later. I'm not sure what day this video is going up, Tuesday or Thursday, but at any rate, my goal is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday this week. Lord willing, we'll see how it goes. I hope you are well. I hope you are healthy. I hope you are blessed. Smash that like button on the way out. Take care, and I'll see you very soon.